The night was colder than usual. People hurried past the old bus station without looking down. Some pretended not to notice. Others simply didn't care. Lying on the cracked concrete was a homeless man no one knew by name. His clothes were worn thin, his shoes barely holding together. Tonight he wasn't asking for change. He wasn't speaking at all. He wasn't moving. At first, people thought he was sleeping, but as the hours passed, it became clear something was wrong. His chest barely rose. His hands were stiff from the cold. The streetlights flickered above him as traffic noise faded into the distance. Still, no one stopped. Not the businessman adjusting his coat. Not the couple whispering as they crossed the street. Not even the security guard who glanced over, then looked away. But someone else was watching. From the shadows near a trash bin, a stray dog slowly stepped forward. Thin, scarred, forgotten by the same world that had forgotten the man. The dog approached cautiously, sniffing his hand. No response. The wind grew stronger. Footsteps echoed in a nearby alley. Two figures lingered in the darkness, their eyes fixed on the motionless man. Easy target. They started walking toward him, and that's when the stray dog did something no one expected. He didn't run. He stood between them and the helpless man. Before we continue, please leave a like and tell us where you are watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more animal stories. Now let's continue. The night had settled heavily over the old bus station, wrapping the empty sidewalks in a blanket of silence. A single street light flickered above the cracked pavement, casting long, tired shadows across the ground. Beneath that light lay a homeless man no one had bothered to notice for hours. His body was still, one arm stretched awkwardly beside him. His coat, thin and torn at the sleeves, offered little protection against the biting cold. His breathing was shallow, so faint it was almost invisible. Anyone walking past could have mistaken him for someone simply sleeping off exhaustion. But he wasn't sleeping, and someone had noticed. From the darkness near an overturned trash bin, a stray dog stepped cautiously into the light. His fur was matted from weeks on the streets. A faint scar ran along his side. Hunger had carved the outline of his ribs sharply beneath his coat. He studied the man carefully. The dog approached slowly, eye nose low, sniffing the air before nudging the man's motionless hand. No response. He tried again, this time licking the cold fingers gently. Nothing. Then came the sound of footsteps. Two men emerged from the far end of the street, their voices low, their movements unhurried. They had seen the man lying there. They had also seen that no one else was around. "Easy pickings," one muttered. The dog's ears rose instantly. The men drew closer, their shadows stretching across the pavement. One of them bent slightly, eyeing the man's coat pocket. The dog moved without hesitation. He stepped directly between them and the unconscious stranger, planting his paws firmly on the ground. A low growl vibrated from deep within his chest, not loud, but steady. The taller man scoffed. "It's just a stray." He took another step forward. The growl sharpened. The dog's body trembled from the cold, but he did not retreat. Not tonight. The taller thief hesitated. There was something in the dog's eyes that made him uncomfortable. Not fear, not confusion. It was certainty. The shorter man grabbed his friend's sleeve. "Forget it. It's not worth a bite." For a few seconds, neither side moved. The cold air hung thick between them. Then, with a final curse under his breath, the taller man stepped back. "Crazy mutt," he spat. The two figures retreated into the darkness, their footsteps fading down the empty street. The dog remained frozen in place long after they disappeared. His ears stayed alert, scanning every direction. Only when the silence felt real again did he slowly turn back to the man on the pavement. The stranger still hadn't moved. The dog lowered himself beside him and pressed his thin body against the man's side. Warmth. That was all he could give. The concrete was bitterly cold. The man's coat was damp from the night air. The dog curled tightly, trying to cover as much of the man's exposed side as possible. A car drove past. Its headlights briefly illuminated them both, one forgotten man, one forgotten dog, before vanishing down the road. The dog lifted his head at every distant sound. A bottle rolling in the wind, a loose metal sign clanging, footsteps in the distance. Each time he prepared himself. Hours passed slowly. The temperature dropped further. The man's breathing remained shallow, uneven. The dog nudged him again, whining softly. Still nothing. But leaving never crossed his mind, because somewhere deep inside, the stray understood something simple. The world had ignored him once. He would not ignore this man. Midnight crept in quietly. The city seemed asleep, but danger rarely sleeps for long. From across the street, another figure appeared, alone this time, slower, watching. The dog sensed him before he saw him. His body stiffened. The stranger stopped a few feet away, studying the scene with narrowed eyes. His gaze shifted between the unconscious man and the thin dog guarding him. He crouched slightly. "Easy, boy," he murmured. But his hand wasn't reaching to pet. It was calculating distance. The dog's growl started low, like distant thunder. The man smirked and took another step. The growl deepened. Street light flickered again. The stranger lunged suddenly, trying to grab the homeless man's bag that lay near his side. The dog reacted instantly. He barked sharply and snapped forward, teeth flashing inches from the man's wrist. The sound echoed loudly through the empty station. The stranger stumbled backward. Stupid animal. But the dog didn't retreat. His stance widened, his head lowered. He was no longer warning. He was defending. For several tense seconds, they stared at each other. The man weighed his options. Then he chose the easier path. With a final glare, he turned and disappeared into the alley. The dog stood motionless long after he was gone. The night was winning, but not yet. The street grew quiet again. The dog returned to the man's side, but exhaustion was beginning to set in. His legs trembled slightly as he lay down. He hadn't eaten properly in days. Every movement cost him energy he didn't have. He rested his head gently against the man's chest. A heartbeat. Faint, but still there. The rhythm triggered something buried deep in his memory. Once, long ago, he had belonged to someone. A small backyard, a bowl filled with food, a hand that scratched behind his ears. Then one day that hand never returned. He had waited, days, then weeks. Eventually, waiting turned into wandering, and wandering turned into surviving. He didn't know why this unconscious stranger mattered to him. Maybe it was the stillness. Maybe it was the way the world walked past without stopping. Maybe it was because he recognized the loneliness. The wind picked up again. Oh, sharper this time. The dog pressed closer, offering what little warmth he had left. Above them, clouds gathered. The night wasn't finished testing them. The first drop of rain landed softly, then another. Within minutes, the sky opened. Rain poured heavily over the station, soaking the pavement and turning the ground icy beneath them. The dog stood immediately. Water drenched his fur, making him look even thinner. He positioned himself over the man's upper body, trying to shield his face from the relentless rain. Thunder rolled in the distance. The man groaned faintly, barely conscious. The dog barked once, sharply, as if urging him to wake. But the man remained still. Cold water pooled around them. The dog's body shivered uncontrollably now, yet he refused to move. He shifted constantly, blocking wind from one side, then the other. The storm lasted nearly an hour. When it finally slowed, both of them were completely soaked. The dog's strength was fading, but his eyes never closed, not while danger still lurked. Just before dawn, the rain stopped. The sky lightened slightly with the first hint of morning. The dog's head drooped with exhaustion. Then, movement, a faint twitch in the man's fingers. The dog lifted his head instantly. Another movement. A soft groan escaped the man's lips. The dog barked once, softer this time. The man's eyes fluttered open weakly. Everything was blurry at first. The cold, the ache, the confusion. Then he felt warmth pressed against him. He turned his head slowly and saw the dog. For several seconds, neither moved. The man's cracked lips parted. "You stayed?" The dog's tail gave the smallest, tired wag. For the first time that night, the man wasn't alone. Morning commuters began passing through the station. Most were distracted, but one woman slowed. She noticed the soaked dog, then the weak man sitting up slowly. She stopped completely. The dog watched her carefully, unsure whether she was a threat. The woman approached cautiously. "Are you okay?" The man tried to respond, but his voice cracked. She quickly pulled out her phone, not to record, to call for help. Within minutes, the sound of sirens pierced the morning air. The dog stiffened, unsure. 2 paramedics rushed forward. They assessed the man quickly. Hypothermia, dehydration, exhaustion. As they lifted him onto a stretcher, the dog followed closely. One paramedic tried to wave him away. The dog refused. The weak man lifted his hand slightly. "He's with me." The paramedics exchanged a look and allowed him to stay close. At the hospital entrance, the dog hesitated as automatic doors opened. Bright lights, strange smells. He didn't like it, but he walked in anyway. Staff members tried to guide him out gently, assuming he was just another stray. The man, now slightly stronger, protested weakly. "Don't send him away." The nurse paused. The dog sat beside the stretcher, refusing to move. Something about the loyalty in his eyes softened the staff. They contacted a local shelter for temporary care, just until the man recovered. When they tried to lead the dog away, he resisted, until the man whispered, "I'll come back for you." Only then did the dog allow himself to be guided. For the first time in years, someone had promised to return. Days later, the man stepped out of the hospital, thinner but standing. He had been transferred to a temporary housing program. But before going anywhere else, he asked one question. "Where's the dog?" At the nearby shelter, the stray had been cleaned, treated, and fed. Yet, he barely ate. He waited near the gate every day. When the man appeared, walking slowly toward him, the dog froze, then ran forward. Not fast. He was still weak, but determined. They reunited in silence. No grand music, no applause. Just 2 souls who had survived the same night. The shelter staff offered to keep the dog. The man shook his head. "He saved me," he said quietly. "Now it's my turn." For the first time in a long time, neither of them was invisible, and neither would ever face the night alone again. The world walked past that man without stopping. Some didn't notice, some didn't care, but a stray dog did. A dog with no home, no food, no reason to stay. Yet he stayed anyway. Through the cold, through the rain, through the danger. While others saw someone worthless, he saw someone worth protecting. Sometimes loyalty doesn't come from the people we expect. Sometimes it comes from the ones the world ignores. And maybe that's the lesson. Compassion doesn't require wealth. Courage doesn't require strength. And heroes don't always stand on two legs. If that stray dog hadn't stood his ground that night, this story could have ended very differently. So, the next time you see someone the world has forgotten, remember this night, because sometimes the smallest act of loyalty can save a life. If this story moved you, tell us what you would have done in that moment. And if you believe animals have hearts bigger than most humans, subscribe because we share stories like this every week.